Audio on. Well met, honest gentles all. My name is Nicholas Coy Santillo, and I am streaming live from Stratford, Ontario, the namesake of the birthplace of the Swan of Avon himself, Billy the Butcher Shakespeare. Welcome back to You Are Legion, the D&D game where you, the audience, can join in and be a part of the story as the voice is inside the head of one of our party members, because in this game, you are Legion. I've already said my name is Coy, and I'm going to be your game master today, and I am joined by a insert adjective here cast of players. First off, Mistress of the Northern Rails, Master Puppeteer, and pretty sweet hang, Claire Hogan. Claire will be playing the Kender Cleric of Knowledge, Arlie Candlewick III. Man about town and man of business, lifter of heavy things, and extremely serious about clowning around, Michael Keane. Michael will be playing as Harold Gray, the halfling widower with a penchant for politics. Calling in from the City of Sin, but straight-edged as a razor blade, Sean Boyd as Aelric Tiamaticus. Sean is going to be playing as Aelric Tiamaticus, the last Dragonborn. And one of the rare New Yorkers born in the city. He puts the gent in gentrification, people. Sam Gilroy. Sam is going to be playing as Thaddeus Turnpike, part sailor, part wizard, all man. And a most ultimate welcome to our special guest, Martin Boersma, who's going to be playing the Ancient Warforged construct, Legion, with all of you in the chat. Because in this game, I've already said it, say it with us, you are Legion. Love it.
Legion.
There we go. Yes, welcome back, Martin. Welcome.
It's very good to be back. Very good to be back. Thank you.
Hell yeah. We're all coming from different parts of this glorious continent we now call North America, named after this cool Italian guy, America. But I'm going to jump right into where we left off. Any sort of like catching up we did a little bit backstage, and we're going to do in character. So let's return to our heroes in the early hours of the morning as the sun crests over the eastern horizon. Mismatched oars dip out of dark waters as the shallow hull of a rowboat scrapes onto the rough sand beach of this secluded cove known as Wrecker's Edge. The early morning light shrouds the faces of those aboard. Darrett, the young knight of Solamnia. Cletus, the de facto leader of the Calaman Rangers. Harold Gray, Arlie Candlewick, Aelric Tiamaticus. And the half-orc, Eosphoros, captain of the ethereal dread. All are thinking about the coming hours and the work this day will bring. The splash of boots into shallow waves as the passengers of the rowboat disembark the beached vessel. Harold, as you put your hand on the gunwale to vault off, you hear Moit Sira, an orcish utterance you recognize as translating into common as a moment, Grey One.
Harold approaches the captain.
There is a saying we have in my culture that the lowest stool is the hardest to tip over. I believe that while your stature may be smaller than your companions, you have a more solid grounding. And to steal an expression from the gnomes, that your head is screwed on correct. Am I right in this assumption?
Sure.
Well, I tell you this so it does not come as a surprise. But we all have our allegiances, and mine is my ship and her crew. And we will not wait for some shadow dark to envelop us while anchored. I tell you this now, as a friend and ally. We will leave the harbor, before the darkness arrives.
Well, I had assumed as much.
I do not know if your captain of men has similar plans. It took quite a long time to disembark all of these soldiers.
And were you to need to board them again, would you make that time?
We would need to begin immediately. And I hesitate to promise about bringing the livestock, specifically your horses. Although I assume they could outrun anything on the land, it'd probably be easier that way. But I am not a controller of land forces. I am just a simple captain.
Of course. Just a simple captain.
Yes.
I'll have a word with the Knights of Calumet. Expect a busy day.
Always on the ship. And with that, you're off. As the last of you trudge into the sandy beach, she takes that little rowboat and returns back towards her ship. Darrett is walking with the group of you towards the main camp. Cletus by the side. Dilk has been left on board for reasons which don't really need explaining.
Darrett?
Yes, Master Gray.
This doesn't seem a job to which your very brave, very capable soldiers are suited. If we are the source of this problem, clearly we must be the ones to deal with it. So while we are gone, I am giving you command of all ground forces gathered here.
Understood.
You need to make a decision whether to embark upon the boats immediately or to travel south and away from the immediate threat.
I see.
Both choices carry risks and benefits, but I trust that you will take the right choice.
Are you speaking this like privately, or are you doing this in front of Aelric and Arlie?
It's
and
in front
Legion?
of anyone in the party who's there.
Cool. So everyone can hear this if anyone wants to respond. Darrett hears this, and you can feel like the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders as he starts thinking about kind of what would be required for these choices.
Let me give you a little piece of advice before I go, Darrett.
Yes, of course.
It's better to whole ass the wrong choice and half ass the right one. Take a moment, catch your breath, and act.
Understood. Well, I believe the troops are just starting to rise, and I will see you to Thaddeus and to your horses, and then I will have a decision by the time you leave camp. With that, all of you continue walking in the quiet dawn. At this point, the sun has crested the eastern horizon, so there is those early morning cold, long shadows and that kind of cold sunlight that doesn't really heat you up after the night. And you all trudge through this like coarse sand and pebbles to the main camp, where there is some fires and some tents. Thad, where did you fall asleep last night?
Oh, we hard pressed back to camp after I believe I spent most of the night attuning to that giant magical teleporter. So
Yeah.
I asked for as much incense and hold on, what other is the spell ingredient that I need? Incense and herbs from the elves and anybody that could scrounge it worth up to 10 GP. And then as soon as I asked for that, I collapsed, and I think that I'm still dead asleep.
Yeah, you've just been out. You had a huge drain. So Dilk stops outside the small tent, kind of an officer's tent that has been left for Thad. Who wants to go in and wake him?
I'll wake Thad.
Yeah.
Elric will wake him up.
Elric, as you walk in the tent, you do see that there's a very, very nice laid out bit of cloth that's folded 3 ways lengthwise, almost like a letter folded in 3. And on top of that are some incense and some components that you recognize as the type of magical components that Thad has in his bag. They've been left just on the inside of the door flap as you enter.
Okay. How big is this tent?
It's an officer's tent. You do fit in it. This would be probably like a 4-person tent if it was for soldiers. But as an officer's tent, it's like they're all the same tent. It's just this one is for one officer or potentially 2 officers because it's Thad. There's a second cot that has been left empty for the night.
Okay. Well, I will kneel down and try to nudge him awake. Thad.
Awesome.
Thad rolls over, and as he rolls over to face you, his fingers are in the position that you've recognized as Firebolt, and he's like, his eyes are still closed, and he's just looking at you, and he's like, 6 more hours.
And with that, Aelric takes him by the firebolt hand and stands up, dragging him with me.
Okay, I'm up. Gentle with the hands. Gentle. Need the...
Thad, you're almost off your tiptoes by the time you're fully awake. The process of being lifted from a horizontal to like almost off your feet is the same length of time it takes for you to go from 6 more hours to I'm up.
And Aelric gently puts him down. And then looks at that and says, I know who you are. I know how to hold your hand. And then walks out of the tent.
Wait. Why did you wake me? What crisis? I need an hour. He shouts after you as he sees the materials. And as soon as he says he needs an hour, I grab everything and begin the hour that I need to resummon my familiar.
Just gonna walk by and Kender and just I want to overhear it. That'd be like, "What's the crisis?" Like, "Oi, it's always a crisis. It's never not a crisis." Carry on, whatever I'm doing.
You hear from inside.
Nothing a crisis.
Like you just spelled the chanting that's starting is interrupted by, and then you're back to the chanting. The chant. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm going to ask if the party allows an hour for Thad to do this. And if so, what are we going to be doing?
Well, that was one of the things that I was going to offer as I was walking out the tent is Aelric is not going to turn around and simply call out, "There are no more hours," as he's walking out.
I start rebanded. I'm gonna take all this stuff. I grab the brazier. I hook it with chains. I grab my staff. Get my rapier. Put it in.
Okay.
And then Aelric makes his way to Harold and says, "Thad needs an hour."
Harold his eyes and goes to Thad's tent.
Nice. You meet Thad at the just inside the flap as he's like getting the brazier on and like getting himself set up.
Oh, we don't have an hour, Thad.
Yeah, no, I heard.
Okay.
No little boobo without an hour to go.
We're gonna be going into the Shadowfell. I don't know if you know what that is or not. If they taught you that at your fancy wizard university, but
Speaking of
all
fancy
of this
wizard
stuff-
school. Oh, sorry.
all this
Sorry
stuff
to
you
interrupt.
should Probably just leave here. We'll get to it later, okay?
What?
No time
Just
to explain.
from another plane of existence to the now we want to go. We're going to another plane. We're going to the Shadowfell.
It's like in a kind of like ethereal fairy kind of way, but it is causing some sort of rift in space and time, according to Legion. So it's because of the time or the non-time that we spent in the place before you died. This is so much lore. I'm so good morning.
No, I told you. No, I believe that as soon as we killed the dragon that killed me for the second time, I had a little panic attack. I remember the panic attack that I had over the magical implications that suddenly I could understand, which was not.
Consequences of our own actions, I
I
think.
died.
I hope. But I did want to run with this one idea by you. Do you think remove curse? Do you think just a simple remove curse? Do you think I'm about to burn a spell slot on it anyway while you pack up the tent? Do you think you know about spells? I'm just wondering, perhaps.
Can I, should you take remove curse? Is that what you're asking?
I was about to cast it on myself just to see if I could get myself out of this situation. Of course, I would help the
assume
rest
that
of you that are
whatever
still in it.
conversation is currently occurring in the wonderful language of Kender right now is of some import to our mission. But that, put on some underwear, your bag, and we can talk about it on the road. Yeah.
Yes, I truly did not mean to interrupt you taking down the tent. And
Well, I'm not taking the tent down. I'm just taking that out of the tent.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thad. Are we coming back to the tent after we go to the Shadowfell? He just keeps the brazier sack and like throws the herbs and incense in, and like an incredibly hot Gandalf storms out of the tent into the. But Koi, what do I do? Know would I know about Shadowfell and curse removal? Can I do an Arcana check to see if I know anything about that?
Yeah, give me a check as well. And Arlie just gave me a check, so give me one as well. Arlie, what I'll tell you is that the curse is about like it's about countering like proactive curses. So like this thing that you have, this kind of like remnant of the Fae that's Legion's described, is not the same as like an active curse, which would be like trying to think of like I think in metaphors a
so
lot.
Arcana check before my long rest because I've already prepared the spell.
Oh, you've already prepared the spell. Yeah, because like a curse would be like an active like virus, if you want to think of it like that. Whereas the what's being described with like the Feywild, it's like just like being soaked in gasoline. Where it's like it's not like a virus, it's just like if you're around fire, it could be really dangerous.
I still think it's on brand for Arlie to like.
You could
not
try for sure.
Do the Arcana check. No, to not do the Arcana check before swapping up her spell book and then resting and then waking up and being like, right, I did not think this.
Yeah. I think
Damn
Legion
it.
only
But
told
hopefully-
you. Legion only told you about this Fey stink after you had long rested, though. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I just it's scrambled in my memory.
Oh, okay, yeah. Legion told you this
Okay.
like after they woke you up yesterday or today, last week.
Okay, well then it's not a retcon. It is just me accidentally cheating and putting in. I will go put the previous spell back.
Put the previous, possibly more useful spell back. Amazing. Where did we sit with Thad's Arcana? You know what, Thad? I'm gonna give you, because you studied in a school, I'll give you advantage on this check. Because you actually like went to school for this?
One better.
One better.
14.
With a 14, so you do recognize the name Thad as like a separate realm. It's one of those areas where there's so many realms technically when you get into it. It's like learning the periodic table. Like, it's one thing to learn a couple of the useful elements on the periodic table. It's another thing to memorize all the elements. The Shadowfell is one of the myriad of planes that supposedly exist, but that like haven't been visited in a long time, and no one comes back when they do. Beyond that, it's one of those like, oh yeah, that was one of those realms in that thing. With a 14, beyond its name and the kind of connotations thereof.
Dad's just muttering as he's marching to wherever he needs to be.
It's like the Dr. Nick
lifetime-
Rivera, like being like, yeah, babe, I'm a doctor. I can prescribe anything.
I've already beaten a one, and it's a lifetime chance. Gonna go back to a place that nobody ever's come back from another time in my life. The only thing that's cursed here is because you left that tower. You, Kender.
Legion, you are present for these conversations. But sorry, so Sean, you can jump in right here.
No, can I overhear this?
Oh yeah.
Thad's and so Eric wheels on Thad and says, "We can go to it, or it's coming to us."
Either way, I was leaving the tower.
And either way, she was leaving the tower.
All right. It's just the world's funeral.
It would do us absolutely no good to go back there, and besides, Elric barely fit
Let's do it.
through most of the door frames.
We-
I mean,
Let's
Thad.
go to the Shadowfell.
Thad, we stink of Feywilds. We stink of it.
Yeah,
Right,
let's-
Legion?
Legion,
let's-
yeah.
Let's go.
So Legion, you've been present. You're watching what's going on here. There is a, let's call it like point of information that you've noticed in this engagement, which is that you have not asked the party to go to the Shadowfell. That is not what's being asked. What your understanding is that a fragment of the Shadowfell has found its way into our realm, which is slightly different, but easy to get confused.
Having explained that to the party, there is obviously concern that the fragment might then open or metamorphosize or transform into a further gate that would allow travel in between. However, this isn't to say that creatures of the Shadowfell can. This is not a portal. I believe that the shadows which will have formed inside this miasma have evolved there rather than having come across from the Shadowfell. It's almost as if were to create a fictional world element named Earth. It would almost be as if there was a small pool here in our realm, which evolved along the same paths as this other fictional realm named Earth. Nothing from Earth could come here, but the same process is beginning.
Okay. Are we riding?
Yeah, with that, Darren shows up with a bunch of horses. Darren has 5 horses that he's come up with on reins. They've been fed and saddled. He says, "All right, I have found some fresh horses for you to journey to the shadows. I believe these will get you there as fast as possible. I've been considering our options here. It seems that if we were to get trapped here on the edges of the water, that would be quite unfortunate. So I have made the decision that we shall strike camp, and all of us who do not have steeds shall return to the ships. We shall have the rangers awake once they've had their rest, return to their horses along with the light cavalry, and they shall ride south to stay ahead of any movement of the shadows. They shall provide a on-land reconnaissance, as it were. We shall give them enough supplies to survive in this land for a week.
If we are unable to connect with these forces, Derek, we'll build a signal fire on this very beach.
Very good.
Look for us from sea.
We shall. Excellent.
You're doing a great job.
Give me an insight check, Harold. Doing a good job, buddy. Is that an 18?
Yeah.
Oh man, Dilk really needed that right now. He's been tossed a lot of responsibility with very little oversight, and just that like positive reinforcement is just like settling down a lot of anxiety. You can see, right. Well, in that case, it seems like all of us have quite a big day ahead of us. Darrett.
Derek, but you just said Dilk needed that reinforcement.
Oh, my bad. Dilk's on the ship. I just got Dilk on my mind because everyone's hating on Dilk. Dilk always lives with me. It's just like, with that, I believe we all have quite a bit to do. I will send you off and I will get started shutting up this camp. We will be in touch through magical or non-magical means. And in one of the saddlebags of one of the horses, you see the Fargab, that backpack, that World War II style backpack. He says, "We have the other Fargab aboard the Ethereal Dread. You can reach out through magical means or through the gnomish invention." And with that, it gives you this little Solamnic Knight salute, which I will not render right here because it hasn't been invented yet, and turns and well done, see you soon, and leaves the horses with you. Wonderful. So the ride away from Wrecker's Edge, as you're riding, all five of you have a few minutes. It takes less than an hour to get there, but you're riding up into kind of like, because the Wrecker's Edge is down by the water. There's quite a steep rise to get to like kind of the meseta that is the Northern Wasteland nearby. Once you do the tacking back and forth to get up to that top, then it's just that desolate kind of deserted landscape up there to reach it. So you have about 40 minutes or so. If there's anything that anyone wants to talk about or clarify, anything like that en route.
Legion, tell me.
Yes.
I'm a worldly man. I know what the Shadowfell is, but I worry that my companion Thad might have slept through his lecture. Could you catch us up?
Why, yes, of course. And forgive me in that largely I am drawing information from the cacophony of voices that are, present within me. The Shadowfell, known as the Plane of Shadows, is one of the various planes of existence in several of the cosmological models of existence, often known as Deep Shadow, or the Plane of Shadow, Demi-Plane of Shadow. It's a terrible place. It's a terrible, terrible place. It's in the same way that shadows are anathema to light. I don't know. You could say that the Shadowfell is sort of anathema to hope and optimism, and possibility. Things always stay the same. I'm going to lower my voice momentarily to see if that fixes a feedback issue.
No, sorry, Martin. It's just there's like a little like, kind of like just a high pitch like in the background of like. Sometimes you get it if there's like a mic, if there's like a wire that's crossing with another live wire, even through the insulation, it can offer that. It's just I'm kind of hearing it underneath your words. Oh, no, still there. We can work through it though. I don't want to interrupt too much.
Sorry, we can work through it.
Yeah.
The Shadowfell is a place. Yeah, it's a place of anti-possibility. Things always stay the same. Stories repeat. The hope that one might experience of having a better outcome isn't there. Now, that being said, that's actually really useful in this situation. I think, because you. Oh, by the way, Thad, you're covered in just this horrific stench of fae and possibility and chaos. So I do believe that if we immerse you in this anti-possibility that is this element of the Shadowfell, that we can use that to subdue the corrupting effects of the fae and use some of the precepts that have been programmed into me to control and harness mythic powers to hopefully remove the taint that's on you from the Feywild.
Well, that sounds both insane and reasonable. What happens if we just let this taint continue to linger upon us?
My guess is anything and everything. Certainly the shadows that have been birthed in this fragment of the Shadowfell will hunger and yearn for your energies, and so they will follow you and pursue you. I can't really say what's going to happen to anything that gets in their way on their pursuit. And on a more personal level, the magic of the Feywild will adapt and stretch and warp the weave which we all exist in, and might have some unexpected results. Frankly, it could be any result that any magic spell might produce, and it might even be effects produced upon you that we don't see replicated with magical spells. Oh, there's a chance those could be positive things. I mean, Elric got wings. I can't say whether or not that's a result of his exposure to the Feywild or not, but maybe you'll get wings.
No, he sees the future and thinks that we're all going to die.
No, we are not all going to die. That is not what I said. I said that I die, then Bubo dies, then you're going to lose an arm, then the other person that came in to replace me dies, because we need to get the two of them. He points to the Kender and Arlek. Goes, have to get over the finish line. I don't remember you. He looks over at Legion being any part of it at all. But considering the fact that I wasn't killed by the thing that killed me means that I shouldn't have been killed in the first place, meaning I shouldn't remember or know about any of this. How do I know that when I bathe myself in the anti-material or the negative death force that you're talking about, I just won't simply cease to exist? What if my being is his wings?
Lost you,
Any sound
buddy.
for you,
Lost
right?
you, Martin.
Oh. Can't hear you, Martin.
Yeah, I had a suspicion because the hum went away.
Oh. The clip clop of horse hooves on rocky sand covered rocks as you traipse your way up from
Legion strokes his chin, thinking,
his metal
depth,
chin,
heavy thought. How do
Yeah.
I?
scraping metal on metal as he rubs his chin. And the last stretches of waters go off behind you as you actually open your way up into this desolate landscape that is the Northern Wastelands. Now, is this actually visible to you? It is not visible to you. Now it is visible. This exciting monument landscape. That is my stand-in for the Northern Wastelands. Oh, you're back? I think I hear ambient noise from Martin.
Thad, it sounds like that's a valid concern, and perhaps I can do some thinking on this. There might be a way that I can change and modify the containment precepts that I was thinking of using to, rather than pulling all of the corruption away from you, perhaps I can leave it encapsulated in your being. And that should hopefully, or if your being is the chaos, ensure that you remain.
Well, all right, then if that's what everybody thinks is best, but if I suddenly, pop out of existence, when Harold loses an arm, just remember you got to get the two of them over the finish line.
Amazing. Amazing. You cross the plain of red sand, encrimsoned by the rising sun, and by the time you come to the edge of the darkness, the sun is fully detached from the eastern horizon and has begun its slow ascent into the sky. The darkness ripples as you all approach, almost like a shuddered inhalation of anticipation. And you find yourselves there dismounting from your horses, who are quite nervous next to this darkness. It looks almost like a blanket of velvet that has been stretched out over the sand. But of that infra-black color that is so dark that it doesn't reflect anything, it's almost as if you're at the edge of a high cliff that falls into a deep abyss. It's hard to tell because it is so black that depth perception is just lost.
Would you say that if you were asking the question how much more black it could be, that it would be none? None more black?
Oh no, that's a reference.
Oh, Spinal Tap? I'm the only one?
No! Is this
Dang.
Spinal Tap reference? Oh, Smell the Glove.
Cover the Spinal Tap album.
Oh yeah, the Spinal Tap
Well,
was just black on black,
More
right?
black this could be, and the answer is none. None more black.
None more black. Right. I can't better that. That was a great reference that I missed.
Man, I'm so sorry. I thought every
Keep
D&D player
swinging.
had that thing committed to knowledge, right?
No, that's
My bad.
the thing with the thing that reminds me of is there's
Generational,
a Terry Pratchett book, the Ringworld series, and he talks about different colors, and he says that there is a color of magic. He says magic actually has a color. It's called
Green.
Yeah, and there's only two ways. Two animals can see it: humans, who can cast magic, and cats. They're the only two animals that can see it. And he says there is a way to see it, But what it takes is you need to run headfirst at full speed into a brick wall. And he says the thing that you see right before you die, that's that color. Which I always love that as a description. But yeah. Anyways, none more black. Yeah, it's you know what? If you take black all the way to 10 and then do one more, that's the black. To bring it back to a Spinal Tap reference.
Well done.
Amazing.
Well, Aelric turns to
Boy, that was
kind of
really
the party at large and just says, "Can anyone see in there?"
Harold takes dismounts his horse.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I don't think we can take the animals in with us. He takes a torch out of his bag. That's it. And like someone, it reminds me of, must be like standing at the edge of a thunderstorm. You're not in it. Hucks the torch into the darkness.
Yeah, as the torch like flies over that vertical precipice, so it's like over the darkness, and as soon as it touches the ground, it just disappears. You hear it. You can audibly hear it hit the sand, but it's gone.
So Koi, I
yeah.
don't know how 5e works, but it used to be back in the day, back in the generational worlds, that magic items all glowed. Is that thing work still or no?
Oh, I haven't made up a
Forgive my
hard and fast rule.
about these things.
No,
Okay.
no.
So,
I don't have a hard and fast rule, but if you want to create a cool rule that magic items glow.
Well, no, I was just saying. I mean, Shatterspark, if it glows without me, doing the chromatic infusion when I draw it, I could do that and then just kind of like
Give me a
place the
D20.
length of it into.
Give me a D20
Okay.
check. 11 or higher magic items glow. We're establishing canon.
Do we still have that orb, or did it get broken?
The orb got broken back when we were fighting the Aboleth.
The orb got broken, but you do have Helm's orb.
What?
is
Whose
Helm's
orb?
again?
The artifact
orb?
that was created from the aspect of Helm. The kind of like you have that, Harold. It's like a magical glowing crystal.
Yeah.
Effectively. You have that.
I pull it out of my bag. What's it doing?
So it's as you pull it out, it has the color of like a full moon, like a silvery glow, like it's backlit, but it's not emitting much.
Stupid gnomes didn't even tell me how to use this.
Do you want me to use the?
Harold, you can roll Arcana if you want to try to figure out how to use this.
Charlie, you like gnomes?
I think I don't mind them.
How would you turn this thing on? Give me a help action.
But Arlie starts talking too much and somehow bestows the help action.
The help action. Well, you could always try. Yeah. Amazing. Sean rolled a 17, so magic items glow. Or can glow, if
Or
wanted.
I think maybe that maybe it's like the Dragonborn. Just see, it's like a part of their dark vision, because of the dragon treasure. Anyway,
I love this.
some poetry there. Maybe.
Also there's an option where Harold, with advantage, you remember there were some activation words for the drift globe that was destroyed in the Fey realm. Those are some magical activation words for an artifact that's very similar to what you have.
Earl says, "Helm."
Helm doesn't seem to work.
Visibly concerned when you say
that. The tensing. Amazing. The horses are nervous. As you kind of, I assume some people are still mounted, some people are unmounted, or has everyone unmounted at this point?
Aelric will follow suit when Harold dismounts.
Totally. If you get anywhere within 2 body lengths of the darkness, 2 body lengths of the horse, so probably like 10 meters, something like that, or 10 yards for our imperial measurers, the horses are going to get start fighting you. So and will require an animal handling check if you're trying to get them anywhere closer.
I don't think. I mean, Aelric just turns to Harold and says, "I agree. The horses are no good here."
Cool. These are trained horses. They will return if you let them.
Harold gives his horse a little spank on the bum.
Nice.
Sends it on its way home.
Halfling giving horse a spank on the bum, and the horse takes off. The others see it leave, and they will try to go as well, unless stopped. Nice. All
it's
the
just
horses.
An hour ride.
Yeah, the 5 horses turn, and they all return. You can see them. They know where they're going, following their own path back. Incredible. Leaving the 5 of you on the doorstep of this darkness. I'm going to ask if anyone wants to step through, or any investigation that anyone wants to do before.
Aelric is going to draw his sword, the glowing sword, the now glowing sword, and Shatterspark, and then I guess I'll just draw both of them, but I'll be leading with Shatterspark, walking up to kind of the threshold point to where I can just kind of like sink it into the inky black there.
Yeah, when you push your, like, in the same way, kind of like moving your hand above the ground doesn't seem like, it's not like a curtain for you. But when you place the tip of the sword into the darkness, it's almost like, it's like putting a blade into a pool of ink. But at the same time, you're also feeling and hearing the tip touching the sand. It's as if the ground were covered in ink from standing outside.
Okay.
Well, it might be the case where we simply have to go forward without being able to see.
I can cast light, but no guarantees.
Maybe we should walk in first and then cast light. Maybe the light won't travel in, but it will exist within.
Right.
I have rope. We could tie rope around somebody and they could walk in.
Ooh, volunteer. Yes.
Well, you're light anyway, and so if you tug on the rope, I'm sure that Arla can yank her back incredibly fast.
Right. It's a plan. And Arlie's already tying herself off.
Amazing. Is Aelric going to be the first one to go through?
No, Arlie is. And
Arlie,
Aelric
sorry.
is.
Okay, so Arlie and Aelric are going to tie themselves through?
Yeah.
Okay.
I cast Mage Armor on myself while all of this is going down.
Cool.
Harold is having an aside with Legion, seeing if Legion can figure out how to activate the orb.
Oh, sorry, Keen. I didn't tell you though. With that Arcana check, you remember the activation phrase for the drift globe that you used before.
Okay. I try speaking it.
Yeah. So, speaking the activation phrase for the drift globe, you find that this Circle responds similarly. It expands, the light increases and expands to, I think it's a brightness to 30 feet and semi-brightness to 60 feet. What you have effectively for D&D purposes is a magical item called a drift globe. So that'll give you and what it does is it gives you a 60-foot radius of light, which is bright, and then dim light for an additional 60 feet. The difference between this and a standard drift globe you would find in your 5e world is that this actually sheds true daylight, as opposed to the spell daylight, which doesn't actually count as daylight. It's a weird bullshit thing. Effectively, this spreads a celestial daylight that is like a proper bright daylight, whereas the drift globe is this weird, just it's light, but it's artificial.
Harold hands it to Arlie.
Oh, you want me to go into the Shadowfell with this? All right, why not? See what happens.
To me,
Amazing.
no.
Everyone knows the
Can't have it,
activation
Legion.
words. Everyone knows the activation words for the drift globe. Aelric taught it to everyone, so there's like an on and an off. Effectively, they're like old, ancient Elvish in that family. Okay, Arlie, you are tied up, ready to go. Legion, what are you doing as Arlie is getting ready to enter?
Legion's mostly at the moment caught, like, if anything, his attention is very turned inwards, almost like he's listening to a lot of the cacophony that is going within. Definitely joining with the group, like, happy to take the rope, hook it through a like a hard point that happens to just be on his torso.
Yeah.
And like to each of the party members, Legion is coming over and sort of like tapping and sizing you up. There might be a point in time where he actually reaches out and touches, sort of like holds up a finger, looks at it, and then his eyes change and scan. So I'm assessing everyone and kind of muttering to himself.
That's pleasant.
Awesome. The doctor's in the office. Amazing. Are you going to join as they jump in?
Yeah.
Or as Arlie jumps in?
Going with.
You're going to go in with Arlie? Amazing. Okay. Arlie, as you and Legion step onto this dark blanket that rests on the sand in front of you, as you take that first step that lands in the darkness, you find yourselves in midnight. Starless, moonless blackness. Now, Arlie, you're holding this magical artifact of Helm, and so there is a light that is floating just above your hands, this little crystal of light that is radiating light out from around you and Legion. And so the effect of which is like having a very bright light hundreds and hundreds of feet below the surface of the water, where it's like you're in a very dark space and there's light that is radiating, and then it drops off into the darkness. The rest of you see Legion and Arlie take that first step. As soon as their front foot touches the blackness, they disappear. And the rope just goes off and it falls into the ground, into that darkness. And you can't see them. Arlie, you stand there in what seems to be very similar to where you just left. It's just as bright, or not just as bright, just as like high pressure, just as chill, the morning chill on your skin. You can almost feel the breeze in the same way that you just were in, that kind of early morning breeze. Very little is different, except the fact that there is nothing you can see beyond. After 60 feet, the light starts dropping off very quickly, and after 100 feet, it's just this darkness. So you have this kind of sphere around you, and this rope that stretches off far, far behind into the blackness.
Well, I'll be damned. You just started working. Fantastic. And that's right? Like the helm is working. Like that's where the light's coming from, or did I cast light?
Yeah, the light is coming from this artifact, this helm artifact. Yeah.
I guess you just really needed to be in a miserable place to shine. I don't know. Reveal your secrets later. Good thing we have a signal we planned with the rope. If I give 3 tugs, it means follow along, and we're fine. And that's what Arlie's gonna try to do. Gonna try to tug on the rope. I mean, I'm assuming it's not just gone slack.
No. It's like as tight as it was. You've only taken one step, right? So it's like everything about 4 of your senses is telling you you've taken one step, nothing's changed. The 5th sense, your
Except
vision.
for the fact that I can see.
The vision is totally different.
Everything. Yeah. Right, Legion, I think I'm going to invite the rest of the party into this situation. I hope I don't regret it.
Koi, when
Yeah.
Legion looks early, is there any effect that the shadow that we're in is having on the Fey, the Feywild realm, like that's around her?
I'm gonna say give me an Arcana check with advantage. I'm gonna say the DC is 10, and every 5 at 15 and at 20 and at 25, you're gonna get more. You're gonna get a better insight or better answer to this question.
Okay, roll 1 is a nat 1, so
Oh, no.
thanks for the advantage. And roll 2 with advantage is a 18.
18, amazing. Okay, so 18, so that gives you above 15, below 20. So with an 18, you can see that there doesn't seem, the first thing is that there doesn't seem to be any effect on Arlie. And it's only as you kind of expand your investigation beyond just her, because at first you're looking at like, okay, how is she in this space? I know that we've taken a step into this space. How is she? And it's only when you kind of like expand beyond that subject into the broader, like, where are we actually, what's going on, that you realize that this bubble of light is actually creating a barrier between whoever you and Arlie, who are standing in it right now, and the Shadowfell energy. It is actually being repulsed by this celestial light of this artifact.
Wow. Arlie, things are looking good. I think I've learned something, though, which is that in order to do the hopeful ritual to cleanse you all of this taint, it seems like we're going to have to, at some point, extinguish the light.
By Zivelin's broken quills. That's a bummer. Okay.
Okay, tug away, Arlie.
Right, okay, and then the peril. Fantastic, yes. And, yeah.
Okay,
Arlie's
so
gonna give a
Arlie makes
signal.
the 3 tug signal, safe to come on, safe to keep coming, the agreed upon signal. Aelric, you're the one holding the rope. You feel an Arlie strength tug, the frequency of which was the agreed upon signal. It's all safe, you can come on in.
Aelric says that to Thad and Harold.
Let's do it.
We're being invited in.
Amazing.
Okay.
You all take a step
Here we go.
forward, and as that front
We're
foot
all
steps on the on the back, death saving throws. As that front foot steps on that black velvet of the sand, you step, and the horizon disappears almost in the blink of an eye, and you're left in this sphere of light in a dark space with Arlie holding the source of that light, and Legion glittering, all of the crystals and gems and shiny surfaces of Legion just refracting off of this central light that she is holding, this Helm drift globe. And the five of you find yourself in a little center of light in this fragment of Shadowfell.
Again, Harold. It's exciting. I think it was just messing with you.
Well, I asked for something that would explode, so it's a surprise to me too.
Right. So everyone, Legion's explained to me that in order for Legion to perform the ritual to remove our stank, we have to turn off the light.
And I think it's very important that what I think will work. I have had some time to think about this. Know what's going to happen to you before you should consent to it. My framework and hard work actually is continually performing the same. They are precepts that are built into my arcano magical frame, which help and equalize the energies of the deities trapped within the various gems. And I think that if we momentarily connect your being, your soul, to a precepts and run that containment precept on you, and rather than the energies of this Feywild into a gem, another vessel of some sort, own body, so rather than the contamination being on you and about you, it will be contained in you.
And
Eric
something-
listened to all of it. Sorry, go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, no, Legion, something about this realm is making it very difficult to hear you. You're clipping in and out. Can you try again?
Yeah. Maybe if you select press to speak, so that you just have it like automatically on, because I think it's the auto mic coming on and off that we're losing like the tops and tails of your sentences.
I mean, I got the gist though, right? Did we get the gist?
I didn't.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Legion turns inwards to do some technical sorting. Blue
Deep
screen of
breath.
death. It is. What was the thing that just happened this week? The that shut down like all the airplanes.
CrowdStrike.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, CrowdStrike deployed an update. Yeah. I helped a client install CrowdStrike once. I wonder how they're doing.
I was just learning
Yeah.
how it works. That it's like this because it's a kernel-based security. I was watching some stuff online, feeling like I know everything. That's how you learn online. Is you feel like you know it all, and then you end. Legion goes blank and goes into audio only mode. as Legion does some internal troubleshooting. Incredible.
So Aelric turns to Thad and Arlie and says, "That is as dense as politics to me. So, what are your thoughts? Contained within us? That sounds either harnessable? There we go. That sounds either harnessable or dire."
Right. So Martin just typed what he was what Legion was saying, which is Legion would try to run a quote unquote program or containment precept that is continually being run internally to contain the gods, but to run this same program, spell, precept on all of you, and to use your bodies as a housing for the Fey energy, in the same way that the gems house the celestial energy. So he would be turning kind of your physical bodies into a containment, which would mean not having to scrub this Fey energy from your essences or remove it or distangle it in any way, but to just incorporate it and then use your bodies as a containment vessel for the energy. Is that a proper translation there, Martin? Double thumbs up. Nice.
Yeah. Let's do it. We came all this way. If it's going to be the best solution to our problems. I mean,
I trust yours and Arlie's insights on this. I'm happy to yield to whatever.
I mean, can I roll an Arcana check to see if that makes some sort of logical sense?
Yeah, totally. Give it with advantage because we're all kind of working on this together. He's trying to help you to explain it.
22.
22. Yeah, 22 makes total sense. Like, it's a bit of like a arcane hack almost, because what he's doing is he's using the physical. It's something that only a construct would do. What he's doing is he's using a spell that you would normally use on like an inanimate object on a physical body, but he's doing it within the description of how he's describing it is he's using your body as just a collection of inanimate things, which bodies kind of are. So he's using, it's like, yeah, the flesh of your body will this be this inanimate containment for this arcane energy. It's a use that would never be taught. It would be taught in school as like, these do not match ever. But hearing him describe it, you're like, oh, like with the 22, you're like, oh yeah, if you just described the body as skin, like skin isn't inherently like sentient, which is like a definition for magic and stuff. So like, it's a weird, a human probably wouldn't come up with this tactic.
Well, Ken are descended from the Fae, or so we say, and so perhaps it'll be very happy inhabiting my skin.
Yeah, totally possible.
I don't know. We'll find out. Turn off.
Amazing. And with that, and with turn off, and then there's like a little brief, and then like the actual magic spell activation word, and boom, darkness. You are descended into darkness so deep that it is what you think is what you actually can see is actually just the phantom light on your retinas that kind of continues for a few blinks that you think is, oh, that's something in the dark. No, that's just the remnants of the last thing your eyes saw, the last light that came on and activated any receptors in your eyes, descending you all into a deep, deep darkness. And as this darkness descends, you feel yourselves isolate, almost as if you're being pulled further away from anything. Even though you don't feel yourself moving, you feel yourself getting almost smaller. Almost as if someone's taken the zoom and just adjusted a zoom lens and you've just pulled yourself further away. Before we go to break, I have 4 questions for the party that I'm going to leave the party with before we go to break. Aelric, what did you dislike the most about your uncle? Thad.
Am I answering now, or am I thinking about this in the break?
You're gonna think about it. I'm gonna give you some time to think about it because I'm throwing this on you now. I didn't give you time ahead of the session to think about it. So this is me being fair, giving you a few minutes to think about it. Thad, what class did you struggle with the most at the tower? Arlie, when was the first time you returned home after you moved to the Cleric's Tower? This was before you left as a wandering cleric. It was like the first time you were allowed back in some, like for an event or for a purpose, for some official purpose or informal purpose. Harold, when did you first learn how revenge feels? And with that, I am going to leave us for break. We'll be back. This is 9:10. I'm going to say we have 15 minutes. So we'll be back at 9:25. Thank you, everyone.
Emerge forged in history, Google the Olin Ranger, skilled and true. Tad the wizard casting spells on you. Harold the halfling nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and rogues so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong, the fate of the land. Through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend. From Shuckstar he came, Elric's in his wake. Enemies crumble when their bravery breaks. Questing for glory through lands afar, guided by the storm, following fate's star. Through the flames, through the flames.
Hoist up the sails, let the winds take a clip. For Thaddeus Turnpike commands his ship. A rogue of the waves, a sailor so bold, with magical powers and a heart of gold. Behold, Thaddeus sailed the endless sea, with little Bubo as wise as can be. Through tempest and tide, they roam far and wide. The Turnpike legacy, their unfading pride. From the mighty Turnpike line he hails, with a lineage of captains braving the gales. A scion of seafarers fierce and grand, with the smell on his lips and the sword in his hand. Behold, Thaddeus, master of the spell, with little Bubo through heaven and hell. They dance with the stars, they flirt with the dew, their laughter echoes in the ocean's blue. An owl for his mate, little Bubo's his name. Together they soar in fortune and fame. With little Bubo, his talons wrapped in light, they summon the winds and the stars to their fight. A curse of great power, a gift or a bane, Thaddeus wields it with little to fame. A rogue with a charm, a sailor with flair, he faces each curse with nary a care. Behold, Thaddeus, the sea's arcane knight, with little Bubo in the pale moonlight. Through whispers of magic and the salt-laden air, the Turnpike adventure none can compare. So sing of the Turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart. So sing of that Turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart.
Magic and mystery, a group of heroes emerge forged in history. Bubo the Olin Ranger, skilled and true, Tad the wizard casting spells anew, Harold the halfling nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and roads so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong. The fate of the land, through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend. Magic and mystery, A group of heroes emerge forged in history. Google the Owen Ranger, skilled and true. Tad the wizard casting spells on you. Harold the halfling nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and rogues so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong. The fate of the land, through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend.
From Shuckstar he came, Elric's in his wake. Enemies crumble when their bravery breaks. Questing for glory through lands afar, guided by the storm, following fate's star. Through the flames, through the flames.
Hoist up the sails, let the winds take a clip. For Thaddeus turned, I command his ship. For lord of the waves, a sailor so bold, with magical powers and a heart of gold. He called Thaddeus, sailed the endless sea, unfading light. From the mighty turnpike line he hails, with a lineage of captains braving the gales. A scion of seafarers fierce and grand, with the smell on his lips and the sword in his hand. Behold Thaddeus, master of the spell, with little Booble through heaven and hell. They dance with the stars, they flirt with the dew, their laughter echoes in the ocean's blue. An owl for his mate, little Booble's his name. Together they soar in fortune and fame. With little Booble, his talons wrapped in light, they summon the winds and the stars to their fight. A curse of great power, a gift or a bane, Thaddeus wields it with little to fame. A rogue with a charm, a sailor with flair, he faces each curse with nary a care. Behold Thaddeus, the sea's arcane knight, with little Booble in the pale moonlight. Through whispers of magic and the salt-laden air, the turnpike adventure none can compare. So sing of the turnpike, the legend, the tale, of Thaddeus and Booble setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart. So sing of that turnpike, the legend, the tale, of Thaddeus and Booble setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart.
Magic and mystery, a group of heroes emerge forged in history. Booble the Olin Ranger, skilled and true, Tad the wizard casting spells on you, Harold the halfling nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and rogues so sly, Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong, the fate of the land. Through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend. Magic and mystery, a group of heroes emerge forged in history. Booble the Olin Ranger, skilled and true, Tad the wizard casting spells on you, Harold the halfling nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and rogues so sly, Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong, the fate of the land. Through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend.
From Shanghai came, Elric stands tall, exiled from the shadows, hearing the dragon's call. Blade in hand, justice his only creed. Through blood and thunder, he sets the captives free.
And welcome back. A couple minutes late, but that's cool. It's the internet. Time doesn't matter. We are back, having just stepped into the little remnants of the Shadowfell. I have asked some questions of our players, and the darkness descends. Aelric, I started with you. I asked a question. What did you dislike most about your uncle?
That he would never tell me if he was actually my uncle.
Aelric. Out of the darkness, you hear a familiar voice. Again. 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 And as this voice kind of comes out from behind a mist of memory, you turn one way, then the other to orient yourself. And before you know it, you're standing in a desert again, but not the desert that you left. This is a desert that is different. It's hotter. It is familiar. It is a desert from your past. You've seen these mountains for years on the horizon. You've stood in this space for hours, hundreds and thousands of hours, running through the same movements again and again. Working first with one blade, then one blade on your offhand, then with two blades. Again. And you are disarmed. And you find yourself on all fours in a dusty bowl of sand. Back almost when you were young again. Or pick it up, we don't have time.
Crixlix?
I pick up the blade and begin again.
I don't. Aelric's looking around. Does he see Kixorlik?
You see his feet. They're about 2 paces from your face.
He stands. Aelric stands. Swords at the ground, on the ground.
Are you wanting to take a break already?
Is he speaking Common or Dragonborn?
With you, he speaks Draconic.
Oh, Draconic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't worked on that in a long time.
Okay. It sounds a lot like Sean Connery. At least from his mouth.
Okay, great. Well, I don't have a Sean Connery.
It can be whatever it sounds like for you, but Crixlix, he speaks with a Sean Connery accent.
Yeah. Aelric just strides over to the visage and examines, looks all the way around him, seeing if it's solid, seeing if there's any tells whatsoever.
This is he. This is he from near the end of his life. You remember clearly. He stands in front of you as sure as stone. Watch this. Was the last hit too hard to your head?
I am not your child anymore. I have grown, Kixlorix. I don't need your lessons anymore.
Prove it. Pick up your weapons.
I prove it by not.
And it is this energy and Fool, that was the fool of all people. He throws down his practice weapons and walks away, leaving you alone in defiant young anger. I am good. This fades on Aelric as we come. Fade down on Aelric as we come up on Thad. Thad, actually, we're going to fade down on Aelric and we're going to come up. My bad, Thad. We are going to come up in. I need to make sure I have the right, because, you know me and sound. I love good music. Aelric, we come up as you kind of choose to decide to do something, the darkness fades over you again. And before you can do anything, you hear crackling of fire. And you find yourself seated on this same silica sand that you grew around a large funeral pyre. This was Crixlick's funeral. It's night. In the distance, far in the distance, over the distant mountains, lightning brightens the sky from a distant thunderstorm. And when the sky lightens with that lightning, you can almost see the outline of a dragon in the sky. And in the next flash, it seems gone. You are here alone for the first time in your life. The last person who saved you from Shockspire is now dead and burning in front of you. And there is movement in the fire.
Now I pick up the sword.
Yes.
If it's still there.
Yeah,
Movement in the fire, I get closer to the fire.
Mm-hmm. This is a real sword, not just the training swords that you had thrown down before. As you get closer, you see below the embers and that are dying now, and the little bits of flammable material you're able to scrounge up from the surrounding miles, a glint and shine of crystal and metal.
Okay. Great. Okay, with my sword, with a shatter spark, can I reach it without getting into the fire or no?
Yeah. You can poke at it.
Yeah, I'll just poke at it here and try to scoop it towards me or scoop it out of the embers.
Amazing. Legion, someone's poking you with a sharp stick of metal.
Ow! Ow! Gee, hi! Hey! The heck?
Out from under this pyre, a crystalline construct rises. A figure not from your past, but your present. The Legion construct.
Is it small or is it full size?
It is lying in the same position that Crixlix was buried in that fire. It's almost as if the body of your uncle has transformed into Legion.
Gotcha. Well, I step back, and Aelric says, "Legion?"
Eric, as Legion gets out, brushes some firewood off of him.
Aelric, as soon as he starts coming up, he kind of aggressively walks towards Legion and says, "Why have you brought me here?"
I didn't bring you here, Elric. You brought us here. What? Where? When? What? Why are we here?
This is the day that I burned the last vestige of my kind other than me. My uncle, who saved me. trained me, raised me, died. This is his fire.
You don't sound like you just buried someone that you loved.
This has been... It's been long enough ago. And this is not real.
You mean this didn't happen?
This happened. This is not real. This has already happened. I'm not good with Feywilds and Shadow Realms and one man that can be gone for a day but still be gone for years. These are above me. This is not real. That I know. Why are we here?
I don't know. Okay. So, what now?
As you sit and take in this question, Aelric, a wind picks up as the distant thunderstorm begins to come in your direction. And first the whipping of wind and sand coming off, and then there's a brief stillness before rain starts to fall. A heavy, thick rain like a shower, and in this rain, lightning fires through the sky.
Any flashes of dragons in the distance?
Yeah, looking up into the sky, you see through these flashes like what appears to be darkened dragon wings, as if they're below the lightning. And you can almost
Can
catch
I call for like
figures.
a history check or something? How can I figure out if I can determine whether or not I've recognized this shape of this dragon before?
If you recognize
either historically
the
or
dragon? Yeah, you can give me a
or
history
recognize
check.
the shape of the dragon.
Yeah. What do we got? With a 7. It looks
Did it
like
roll?
a big dragon. With a 7.
Great.
This is really just it's like it looks like a dragon in the way that a cloud looks like an animal, or that a silhouette reminds you of an animal. It's
Okay.
draconic in shape, but beyond the kind of silhouette and through that vast distance, there's no specifics you can discern.
And it's coming our way?
It's kind of like in the storm. This storm crashes, flashing of light. When there's a flash, then one Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, thunder. Flash, 1 Mississippi, thunder. Then there's a flash and it hits the pyre. It actually strikes off of the top of Legion's head, sparking Legion, and you see almost like kaleidoscopic lights that emit from the different crystals in his body from this lightning strike. And the thunder that responds at the same moment on top of that lightning sounds almost like a voice, like, Aelric.
Perfect. Aelric turns to Legion, very, very close to just launching on him, just holding it together as much as he could possibly hold it together, and he says, "Thoughts?"
It's all you.
Aelric turns towards the shape in its sky, wherever he saw it last in the sky, and Draconic says,
Yes. Aelric. Speak.
Now is your time to embrace your power.
Aelric's been through enough of this type of testing and everything like that. He doesn't even debate. He just takes the swords that are in his hand, he throws them point first into the silica, and says,
I am here.
I missed that last word.
Embrace.
Amazing. As you throw your swords to the sand, open yourself and say, I am here, lightning fires down and strikes you right in the chest. Thad! I need to find the right song. Thad! I had asked you a question. What class did you struggle with most at the tower?
Divination.
And who taught divination?
Lady Esabeth.
Lee Esobeth. Wonderful. Lee Esobeth, a very wizened wizard, almost as if they are the etymology of the word. Lee is a powerful divination wizard, so powerful that they basically don't. It's one of those people who's like, I don't read the news, but then we'll say like, make sure you bring an umbrella as you exit somewhere. Lee also likes to, because linear time doesn't really operate in their brain the same way it does for most people, their lectures can be very confusing, often beginning their lectures with like something like, and that's all you need to know to really embrace the power of divination. Come back next week and we'll discuss how we can raise a bunch of bunnies to be wonderful wildebeests. Welcome, class. And that's usually when you lose him. Thad, there is a way that, like waves, when a wave comes in, it pulls away before the next wave comes in. As you sit there, you find yourself, you don't even question it because you're struggling so hard to pay attention in that way that we all sit at Zoom calls trying to pay attention, but actually kind of just looking at something else. You're sitting there trying to listen to Lee, and the wave pulls away of sound, almost as if it's becoming muffled, and out of this muffled, a clear voice shatters through, your mother's voice. Thaddeus, Nordmar has been invaded. Dragonspire Keep besieged. The turnpikes return to the waves. Your sister has chosen to defend her homeland. Do not return. Which is why you have to make sure that you never use odd-numbered pages when writing your first divination spells, because it is the odd pages that was Thaddeus. Thaddeus.
And what body am I in? Am I in my sort of, have I lost all of my muscle mass yet? Or am I still
You were in
big?
your bulky barbarian body.
Is my axe?
It is
With
not.
me?
Would you have taken your axe to classes?
I would have had special dispensation to take that axe everywhere I
Okay,
went. That axe
then
is
your
not
axe is with you.
preferred.
Yeah, your axe is with you. Fully there, not broken, not shattered.
Sort of just like, now the sound goes out of the room on my own behalf. I just sort of like hold and like feel the heft. Like, I'm sorry, screw your
A lover.
Fantasyland.
A lover returned.
I like get up and I do I have like a little bit of stubble?
Oh yeah, classic.
I like just get in my chair and I get into the position and I just start dry shaving. I do the thing where I like crook it in and like I start to just in the middle of everything
I love
like savor just
Like the way-
this very intricate. Yeah.
kind of like how a cat rubs its shin up against something. If we zoom out of this like little love moment with Thad and his axe, there's a student literally next to you, just like, Lee, what is Thad doing? He is distracting all of us. Come on. And he's like, well, I would be upset, except that I gave him detention as he walked in today because I knew something would happen. Thad, we're going to move through this class to detention, which you were served as you walked in, having just remembered that. Detention today is to refill all of the candles in the grand entrance hall. Now, this is the arcane grand entrance hall, so it is not actually at the front doors, but it is further up, kind of in the middle of the tower being a magical tower where things move and change all the time. The grand entrance hall is home to a teleportation circle, which is an ancient circle that connects many of the old keeps around Solamnia. This hall is very large, filled with thousands of candles. Mages, even though they have magic to like replace them and move them, it's still quite a lot. They, just because something's easier doesn't mean you keep it at that level. It means you make everything harder. And there are some large statues of like armored figures from the past that have been carven into the columns in this room.
Is there who looks like they're in charge?
You've been it's almost like a dream. You've been left to replace these candles using prestidigitation on each and every one of them.
I want to go to the teleportation circle, and I remember that I know how to interact with the teleportation circle, and I want to teleport to the nearest location to Nordmar.
Amazing. Legion, you wake up as you see Thad looking at this teleportation circle. What does Thad see?
One of the statues that is it's carved into the column seems to blur and shimmer, and then the stone that was gray takes on a hue, and you recognize a bit of the pattern of some of those hues, and then there's a cracking sound, and it's almost like this infinitesimally thin layer of stone like flakes off from the statue, and Legion sort of takes a stumble out and like turns behind, sees that the column is still standing, and looks at Thad. Thad, where are you going?
My sister defends my homeland. Nordmar's been invaded. I must back to Dragon's Graveyard.
But what about here?
Here I'm at the wizard's tower. Lee was just... My mother sent me a message. Nordmar was under attack. I clutch my axe. I have my axe.
You do have your axe. And where does your axe take you? Where did it take you?
I died.
And then?
I came back. A god did the impossible and brought me back when I was fated to die.
Were you fated to come back?
As far as I remember learning here in Lee's classroom once a fate string was cut. It was cut. Resurrection magic could only be performed on things that hadn't been fully freed from the tether of reality, yet I was cut, my axe was burned, my soul was shadow.
Thad, listen to me very carefully. Have you learned that yet? Here?
Yes.
Have you learned all that you learned here? Or do you have learning to do? Does the learning that you do now serve you in the future? Does it serve others?
Yes.
Who are you going to abandon?
Godforsaken Kender.
Just her?
No. The rest of the group, Bubo, Arlick, Harold. You. All of you.
If you leave now, what happens to them?
They don't make it.
And Legion steps back and sort of trips and stumbles and falls into the column, and like instantly a sheet of stone crumbles back down.
Amazing.
Where am I? How do I?
And with that, we go to the Kender, the godforsaken Kender. Arlie, we had left you with a question. I'm just looking for a cool little visual that we have for you. When was the first time you returned home after moving to the Cleric's Tower?
So, give me a second to just turn this music down. So, he never did. She wrote a scathing letter to to her family after, receiving word that she was being removed from her life in society and sent to the tower. So yeah, she sent a scathing email to everyone about how dare they select her for this role, and doesn't she have a second cousin, with the, not the Candlewick name, but the Lightfoots married in, and surely they're just as relevant and could do the job just as meaningfully. And she just because she was in her party girl era, so she just basically burned all of her.
I love it.
She just was like, and another thing.
I love it. I love it. So
she's been okay. So yeah, I picture just she's avoiding going home because she'll have to apologize to everyone.
Yeah.
And
so,
Arlie,
you find yourself as you find yourself pulled further away in that darkness, you almost wake up in a dream that is restocking books. You know how librarians have to restock books? This is what young members of the Cleric's Tower do for the first 10 years, depending on how good they are. This effectively helps you learn where all the books go, because they don't use the Dewey Decimal System that we use in our world. They use a very random arcane system. So the first 10 years, it's almost like the London Knowledge, where it's you have to learn where the books go because you returned them. Now, what they don't tell you is that every new generation sometimes chooses to put the books in different places, which is why it's really important to spend all this time. You are looking at a stack of a few dozen new books to return, only 5 of which you've ever returned before. So there's going to be a lot of new things. As you stand over this new task for the day, another new cleric comes in who is in charge of the mail
Or-
from outdoors. Yeah.
Oh, I want before an interaction starts.
Yeah.
I just like as soon as she's beholding, she's like, "Oh yes, I remember the tune I used to sing. I hope to die. Death cannot come soon enough, and I shall leave this cursed mortal coil. Soon I will be crushed beneath a pile of dust."
I
And
love it.
so she's just humming. She's humming to herself as this person approaches.
I love it. This person, did you make a lot of friends in the Cleric's Tower?
I think she's she thinks she's an incredibly friendly person. Whether or not her personality would be a vibe
I love it.
the dispositions at the Cleric's Tower.
Right,
is really
that's
up
the
to
real
DM's
question. That's the real
discretion.
question. This
Like when you open with like, "Do you hate your life as well?"
Do you hate your life as well?
I've never been so cursed and deprived.
You have a young.
I am celibate now, so this is fun.
a young
fun. They don't tell you that.
Yeah, they didn't mention that to me. A young acolyte, Mabel, comes in, who's been working in the kind of the mail room, effectively. There are like no one can really leave once they're in. Mabel is someone who's volunteered to be here. One of the many people who like didn't have a lot of options. No one really talks about it. It's almost like prison. Like you don't talk about why you're here. But she seems to be someone who's like in a pretty good mood to be here. Like pretty happy. Like for whatever reason, she's not missing her life. Most people aren't nobles. Let's be clear. Who come here. And she is like, "Oh, singing your classic song there, Arlie. Love to hear more, but I do have a letter for you today." She just drops one off on top of your stack and then goes off. She's picked up your song.
I find your joy immensely irritating. Immensely irritating. Thank you for my letter.
As she leaves, she's like, "Arlie's going to die. Yes, she will shift off this mortal coil.
Not fast enough."
Yeah, and she's using your name, she's not saying I like the way you do it. She's placing it as Arlie. Yeah, you see a lovely letter sealed with a wax stamp with the stamp of your family.
Oh no, not these fucks. Traitors.
You tear it open. Amazing. As you tear it open, you see a familiar handwriting of So there is a cleric in retainer at the Candlewick estate. This is someone who is like if we're looking at Dune, like a mentat, someone who is assisting and providing guidance for the local lord. They live in and buy like kind of as a vizier or something like this. You see the handwriting of your local retainer, and they say, "Dear Juniper Arlie Candlewick the Third," and then the next 4 lines are just formal title. 4th child of the so-and-sos, of the this and that, of the this, married to this, of the this place, of the that tree, because Kenders care about that sort of thing, north of this glade, on the river brook, da-da-da-da, blah, 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 blah. We received your letter, and...
None of it matters now.
We received your letter, and must say that your proposed solution has found favorable ears. If this is something you would like to pursue, please write me back, and I think we can find a way for you to get out of this terrible service you have found yourself forced into, and back in time for the Equinox Ball.
This is so interesting, Koi, because when I was like, the first reason she'd have to apologize to everyone, the second reason is because she actually the second character arc is that she actually would not want to have to give up her what she started building, and that's the other reason why she'd avoided going home. So you are playing right into that.
There you go, playing right into your hand.
Uncomfortable character arc. Fantastic.
As you're reading this letter, an open book beside you has an illustration of an ancient construct. The illustration on the page begins to move.
Oh, I haven't. Oh, that's very weird. I've heard of picture books, but normally you have to sort of flip through them meticulously.
in a sort
Oh,
of 2D
Oh, God.
way. Legion waves. Arlie! Arlie, I'm down here.
Ah. Okay. And she puts a bunch of books on top of it. Not bad at all.
And a little sort of 2D ink drawing like crawls its way out of the pages of the books. Like,
God, it's leaking now.
Yeah, it fully leaks, and it's just on the stone now. Like again, same thing, waving. Arlie, where does this go?
Where do you get back in the book? And I'll put you in section 2R37 sigil I can't pronounce.
Oh my God, thank you. I was really worried that I wasn't going to get that put back in the right place. Thank you. I'll get in the book, but it's kind of lonely. Could you open it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel, I feel underqualified, but technically I'm overqualified. So yes, actually, you can kind of go in any book you like. It's actually my library, even though I don't know how it works. But it's mine. Well, sort of. I'm meant to be here to learn everything and then work for them, but I prefer to think of myself as owning it. It just makes me feel more comfortable. But, so you want to go back? Where are you? What are you?
What do you mean? I'm me. Legion.
That's very vague.
But I'm also the book.
Okay, so you are. I'm sorry. Did this happen to me, or is this? My brain feels. I feel a bit back in time. I've actually. Okay, did I? Is this a memory, or is this a new?
I don't know. I just
because I know you, so I know the things I know.
You can give me a history check, Arlie,
Well, I
if
know
you'd like.
the things I know. Yes. I feel like she's emotionally a bit like stunted in this. Like she's a bit gone back, like reverted into like her noble.
Yeah.
But she recognizes Legion, which means she's aware of.
Arlie, you don't remember.
17.
Well, let me put it this way. You remember a lot of responses to that fateful letter you sent out. None of them you remember being from the family cleric.
Okay. Great. Okay. So, right. So, Legion, I understand that you would like to be placed somewhere and go somewhere, but I'm actually having a rather emotional response to the fact that there might have actually been a way out for me. And my whole thing is premised on the fact that there was no way out. And in fact, I sort of pretext my entire life around the fact that there is really very little self-determination and that you just sort of say yes to what shows up. So the idea that none of this had to happen is deeply... It's only fun to be the godforsaken Kender if you haven't chosen it. It's only fun to be that if it was forced onto you, and if you actually just did a better job of reading your mail and you were less cruel to the mail delivery Mabel, then the idea that I could have not had this incredibly arduous law degree this is painful. Anyway, what's your issue? You want to go up high on a ladder? You want me to just fling? I've got a slingshot around here somewhere.
Well, I mean, the books just need to go home.
Oh no, are they magic? Oh no, am I sort of sorting worlds, and if I put them in the wrong place, then I change the space-time continuum? I don't like pressure. I also clearly don't like being informed of my options, so, tread wisely.
Books are kind of like small worlds.
Okay, well, if this is what dispels... If this is what either allows us to synthesize and process the Fey stink, then sure, I will do a bit more bibliography. And then Arlie is just like, which one would you like? This one's about baking. You might enjoy several hundred years in there. It's pretty tasty. And this one appears to be about gardening. And this one is, it's about murder trials. I don't know. I wouldn't.
And Legion starts asking you questions about these books as we go about returning them. Like he's adamant that the books have to be returned. They have to
Amazing.
I think gardening wouldn't be an important thing for the cleric of the Clerist's Tower to know, but actually there are profound disagreements around potato varieties within the local Kender populace, and should blah 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 blah.
I love this. Okay, as we start restocking the bookshelves, we're gonna go back to the sand. Aelric is, as you're struck by lightning. I'm not sure if you knew this beforehand, Aelric, or if this is something that's just coming to you now. Lightning doesn't hurt you the way it hurts a lot of people. Now
No,
this
it's my one thing that
the one thing that you're like, oh, lightning ain't but a thing. Now this hits you, and as it hits you, you feel this. Now this doesn't require a history check, but there is a mythology within, obviously, the Dragonborn that you were raised with, and there is talk of a great worm in the heavens, one who's so large that its scales shine as stars to mortal eyes, but that it in fact covers all of the heavens, and only some of its scales are visible. And this is this great worm of the heavens. And as this lightning shatters into your chest, you almost hear a voice coming from the thunder, from the lightning itself.
Take your power. Wield your power. Wield it across the world.
either by cynicism or by history or by Harold's wise guidance over the past 4 months or the previous year and a half spent with Arlie, Aelric just sits there and doesn't fight, just keeps trying to relent, just trying to release, just trying to give in, just trying to surrender, as opposed to just fight. Similar to the tactic that he used with the Shadow Dragon the second time, like stripping the armor, right? So that was more literal. This is kind of going more kind of psycho-emotive, just trying to really kind of just like, right?
Amazing.
And as at the end, as all that is still echoing in his head, Aelric just punctuates all that release with, how do I want to say?
Ready. I am ready.
Legion, you hear Aelric say that.
Aelric, what are you ready for? What do you mean?
Can I hear him?
Mm-hmm.
Aelric believes it's a distraction, a test, and just holds pat to the pose, to the lightning, to the
Focus.
to the dialogue between the dialogue between him and whatever the worm's voice. I'm taking it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aelric, do you need this?
Aelric doesn't budge.
He's ignoring you.
Do you want this?
Aelric sits
Is this
there
you?
in a meditative state.
Well, as much meditative as he can be, arms all strung out. Now I am also without wings, right? So I'm sans wings, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there as big and wide and open as I can. And Legion is really starting to grate on him, but he's new to all the meditative state of it. So his daily stoic calendar doesn't have a sheet pulled for this one yet, but he's trying his best to stay connected.
Legion just cold clocks Elric right in the chin. Just cold clocks him. Hey, I'm
Wow.
talking to you.
Punch to the chin, Elric. It hurts.
Enough to do damage?
Enough that you're like, is my lip bleeding?
Okay. Elric continues to hold, thinking at the
Okay.
test.
Okay. Harold, we asked you a question before the break of when did you first learn how revenge feels?
It tastes like the blood on his fingers and the cigarette smoke being pulled from a bloody, crumpled cigarette. His first in more than 25 years. It feels like coming in through an open window over a still courtyard. Behind him, he hears someone begin to stir and sees that one of the lordling's retainers is slowly trying to crawl towards the door behind which the rest of the brothel is still going about its day-to-day business. And Harold stubs out his cigarette and, not trying to be quiet now, not needing to be quiet now, looks up, stands above this man as he reaches his fingers towards the doorknob inches away, wrenches his hair backwards, passes his knife through his throat. Drop it. And it sounds like this gurgling as the air lungs is released through his life's blood. Harold stands in the middle of what he has wrought, and he sighed. Feels nothing at all.
Nothingness. And that nothingness supersedes everything so much that the moments between this back room of a brothel and the next space and the next space are almost faded, muted conversations of transposed space before you find yourself grabbing at the front door of your home. The blood on your hands is dry by the time you grab the cool brass handle and open your front door. The space is cold, empty, quiet. This is a home no longer. Almost by rote, wood is taken, a fire is made, and you find yourself sitting in front of that fire in your chair. And in the flames dance possible futures. There's power to the east you left. You still have family. One with your skills would be valuable. A little wooden toy soldier, a little figurine, one of the last things you held on to from your son. He had grown out of it years ago, but it was carved by Fiona, and you keep it on the mantle above the fire. It stands up on its own. Legion.
Oh, it's so high. And Legion takes a step forward, the Legion figurine does, and it's getting acclimated to the new form. It stumbles a little bit, and in the stumble, part of its foot just catches the edge of the mantle, but is too far off the side of the mantle, and so balance shifts, and there's a scream in Legion's voice, "Ah!" as they fall off the mantle.
Little wood figure. Just a tiny little thing. And now...
falling.
Mm-hmm.
Harold! Bang. On the ground. Ah! 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 And I look up at Harold in the chair.
This distraction from the flames, Harold, now at the same level of the flames. This little wooden figurine, this old toy of a child long gone. And in the flames, whispers of futures you could have, things you gave up. You're still young enough. You could start a business, you could start your own farm, you could be a weapon for hire and blade in the dark. You could run this city. It could be yours. You could cross the ocean, go where no one knows you. There's a place they teach magic. You could wield the arcane arts.
I didn't take that with me. I burnt it with the rest. You shouldn't be here.
No, I shouldn't. And the wooden figurine backs into the fire. The first step, the heel blackens, charcoals, and the moisture inherent in the wood starts to sizzle. Another step, the leg catches on fire. Another step, everything is engulfed in orange and yellow. It falls backwards amidst the embers.
You could be a hero.
No. Watches. Shut up.
You could be feared.
Harold remembers now how this went. He gets up from his chair. And he gets the sack of gold that was to be the retirement. It's not much. It seemed like so much at the time. But now that Harold is an adventurer, what is 10 gold pieces? And it feels so heavy in his hand. Is 12 years of their work since they lost the boy. And he remembers that he washed his head and his neck, a bucket of cold water they kept by their bed. And he remembers that he took a torch in the fire and threw it behind him into the bedroom mattress as he left the house.
As Harold walks away from the house that is slowly consumed in flame, he turns his back on these whispers termed pleas, turned screeches in the burning fire. You could be so much. You could make so much money. You could be feared. You could kill all of them. You could be everything you wanted.
I did not invite you here, Elf, so I may express my displeasure.
And Harold walks away into the past he lived. Aelric, your chin smarts something fierce, having just been clocked by a construct, and you try to maintain some focus, which you're pretty good at doing. I mean, to be fair, he was a strong hitter, but you got a bit of a chin on you. And out of the fire, almost a face, a draconic face appears. Here is worthless. There's nothing here for you. Nothing. Nothing is here. The last thing holding you here is dead. Everything is beyond. Beyond these sands is a greater world. A world that you could take. You have the power. You have the skill. You have the right in your blood.
Elric shifts to common. You're right. Everything I need is beyond here, including you. Beyond you, I don't need you. Legion?
Yeah? Ow.
I was wrong, wasn't I? You weren't the test. All of these things are the test.
Good man. Dragon. Thing. Who are we to talk about humanity?
Man is fine at this point. And Elric picks up the swords from the ground and sheathes them. And just turns to Legion and says, everybody is out of this trap, I am sure, because they are all far more intelligent than I am. I need help. Even if that means you hitting me again.
Where are we going, Elric?
Back to Arlie. Back to the party.
Legion reaches out a hand to, do a clasp, just waiting for Elric.
Get the classic.
He takes
meme.
the hand.
Grabs hands. Then Legion says, there's one more part, and I'm sorry because it's going to suck.
Worse than the fist?
And with that, reality just shifts instantly. We are in a screaming cacophony of strange metal crystalline bridges, and the sounds in your ears are like the distant screaming of 100, maybe 1,000 men, women, children, creatures, beasts, rodents. It's dissonant and deafening. Legion says, "Welcome home." and reaches out, puts my hand on the top of your head, and lifts. And you have a willpower save to make.
Willpower?
Yeah. And
What-
if you
Wisdom?
make it,
Wisdom?
sorry, wisdom, yeah.
Wisdom.
Okay.
Willpower is World of Darkness.
Mixing my systems. And this is you can choose to make the save, Elric.
I probably won't because I always roll like crap. Oh, but I didn't this time. I will choose not to make the save. The one time I don't need to.
You can always choose to fail.
You take
Okay. I'll choose to fail.
3d6 psychic damage.
Okay.
And as you're taking that, I'll continue.
Yeah, yeah.
You feel... I don't know if you've ever shed a skin as a Dragonborn. I don't know if Dragonborn do that. But it feels like you are forcefully shedding a skin that is pulled off the top of your head. It shines brilliantly, the same hue as your scales. And Legion presses it back down into you. And you feel it move, it like shifts like a locus of pressure and power, and it eventually lands somewhere in your body. Where does it land?
In what the human body would call the third eye.
As it lands there, it throbs for a second, and it settles. And you hear Legion gasping, say, "Oh, okay, we did it." You might have some side effects. I need you to take us there. And Legion points, and reality has shifted, and there's a bridge, and you can see very faintly the outline of the party standing in darkness. But feels like there's an infinite gap between us. And as you think about moving to that space, reflexively, you feel yourself casting Misty Step. And you and Legion shift and move into that space.
Okay.
And you have an awareness that the Fey power has gifted you, now living in your third eye, the ability to cast Misty Step once a day at will. You also gain the power to cast Compelled Duel once a day.
What was it? Compelled Duo?
Compelled
Duel.
Oh, Compelled Duel.
So yeah, I just have to speed it up because we are at our time. I'm really sorry that this went so late, but Martin, could you please reveal to our players what spells they have access to, and then I will explain.
Absolutely. And a similar thing happens with Arlie, with Harold, with Thad. Legion comes to you, and there's a moment of physical connection. And you feel this pressure locus move around your body to where it lands. Each of you gains the power of Misty Step once a day. Doesn't take a spell slot. Elric, you also gain Compelled Duel once a day. Thad, you gain Detect Good and Evil once a day. Harold, you gain Bane once a day.
Colt?
Oh, hang on. Oh, I lost audio for a sec.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Sorry, what
Arlie, so Thad, Aelric gets Compelled Duel. Harold gets Bane. We will go over this in between sessions. Arlie gets Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and Thad gets Detect Thoughts. You all get these once per day in addition to Misty Step. This is because you all gain the feat Fey Touched. Because you were in the Feywilds for so long. And Legion has been able to harness and stabilize that Fey energy, giving you all the free feat of Fey Touched. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much, Martin, for being a part of this session, being a part of the last 4 weeks. 2 of the 4 which were madness and totally off topic and not prepared. So this 4 episode arc turned into a 2 episode arc, but I'm glad that we were still able to get it done. We are past our time at 10:30, so I want to just thank everyone so much. This was super cool. This was awesome. Thank you everyone for going into a little bit of some historical character work and some introspective stuff. Very awesome. Love the commitment. Thank you everyone for watching. This show wouldn't be the same without you, because in this show, you are Legion. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week for another episode of You Are Legion. We've done it once. We can't do it too many times. Okay. That's us. Bye.